first 20 years of my life, I did not face any personal discrimination, but when I moved to Delhi for my university studies, I really felt for the first time what it is like to be a Naga Indian living in a metropolitan city in India. So I would be asked where I am from, and I would say I'm from Nagaland, and then I would just watch their faces change, or some would just ask if Nagaland was a different country or is a part of India, and I would be so shocked, thinking, why would they not know that I'm as much Indian as the others are? Of course, well, when you see the features, of course, it's different, but it really got me thinking where I really belong. So today I want to tell you what really was growing up and how it is to have a typical Asian feature living in India, and how I was never fully accepted as an Indian. And I also want to share to you how it is like to move to Germany and make me think what identity and belonging really means. For those who don't know, Nagaland is a state in northeast of India. It's bordering Myanmar. We look different from what most people would consider Indian. We speak different languages, we have different tribes, and our culture is heavily influenced by Southeast Asia. This difference has shaped so much of my life, from being stereotyped in my own country to navigating a new identity here in Germany. So when I moved to Delhi for my university studies, I realized how strong the stereotypes were against people like me, against the Northeast people who look like me. And some people would start calling me Chinese or Chinky, which is a slur and a racist term. And I would really take it seriously, because I think if you were discriminated your whole life and having to have identity issues, then you would really not think it's funny at all. And it was not just the people who used to come from outside. We were living in the campus, and I think most of the discrimination came from people who just come from outside to visit the campus. But I also found or experienced direct discrimination from people living in the own campus, and it was really not fun. Most of my university life was very nice. I got to know a lot of people. I got to know a lot of different people from around the world, but there were some times when we would be discriminated heavily, and these words got deep, and I really still think of some of the moments where I really felt like I was really not part of that culture, part of the country. But I also want to say that not everyone is like that. I have some very good friends. In fact, I have two close friends from the north of India who have made me feel welcomed and accepted. They have been to my state, they have been to my wedding. They never saw me different or never saw me exotic. In fact, they would be curious about my culture, eager to learn about Nagaland, and in fact even trying the food and the traditions. So this kind of friendship, I want to tell you guys that not every Indian holds the same prejudice. I have really met some truly wonderful people in Delhi itself, so I don't want to generalize that in a way, but the general perception of Northeasterners in India is still one of unfamiliarity and ignorance, and that can be really exhausting. So it's a strange contradiction to have close Indian friends who respect and love me so much, but at the same time feel constantly judged by the wider society because I don't look like Indian enough. This duality made me question my own identity. Am I Indian enough? Do I even want to be seen as Indian when the image of being Indian excludes people like me? When I moved to Germany, I thought I would face more or less the same kind of stereotype, but again, a bit different, because people would not just think that I am Indian directly by looking at me. But to my surprise, it wasn't the case. People would ask me if I was a Thai, a Filipino, a Singaporean, a Japanese, but for the first time in my life, I felt that I was free from the burden of being categorized as different within a country that's supposed to be my own. But of course, that didn't mean that I suddenly fit in. It was just a different kind of othering. Sometimes people would just ask me funny questions. Here in Germany, they would ask me if I wear a sari, how I handle eating different kind of spicy food, although where I come from, we only focus on the chilies. So it was funny in a way. Some would say, but you don't look like Indian at all. And somehow I felt even better getting those kind of comments, but it also showed how limited the view of India really was. It's a country with over 1 billion people, with hundreds of languages, with dozens and dozens of ethnicities, yet the image most people have is still very, very narrow. The difference here is that these questions are based on ignorance and not meant to be heard. So they are rooted in curiosity and not prejudice, I would say. That's my personal experience. People genuinely want to understand, even if they sometimes get it wrong. That's why, despite all the misunderstanding, I feel more comfortable being myself in Germany than I ever did in India. Here I'm just seen as a foreigner, which ironically makes me feel less judged than being labeled as not Indian enough in my own country, if you know what I mean. So over time, I've learned to embrace my in-between identity. I am a Naga with Asian features, but technically Indian, never though fully accepted as one, and that's okay. I have stopped trying to fit into the boxes where I don't belong or which were never meant to be for me. Living in Germany has given me that space to redefine what it means to be just me without the pressure to conform to someone else's version of Indian or Asian. So I am an Indian, I am a Naga, I am an Asian, and each of these identities is equally valid, and maybe it's for you as well. So for those people who have also gone through this kind of discrimination or this kind of experiences, I want to tell you this, that there is freedom in accepting that I don't have to belong to just one place. Maybe the reason I feel more peace in Germany is because there's no single expectation of what I should be. I'm allowed to be complex, to be proud of my Naga roots while acknowledging the pain of never being fully accepted in my own country as an Indian. I found more understanding here than I ever expected, even if people still get confused about where I'm really from. So if you ever felt like you don't belong anywhere, know that you're not alone. Whether you are a Northeasterner in India or an Indian living abroad or just someone who doesn't fit in neat categories, your experiences are valid too. You don't have to fit in perfectly in one identity to have value. For me, moving to Germany hasn't been about finding a place that gets me completely. It's been about finding a space where I can be myself, free from the expectations and stereotypes I grew up with. So guys, I would love to hear your stories. Have you ever felt like an outsider in your own country? It doesn't have to be India. How do you navigate your identity? Let's start a conversation in the comments if you want. Thank you so much guys for listening to my story. If this video resonated to your experiences, or if you know someone who might find this helpful, please maybe share this video, and your support means a lot to me guys. Thank you to all my subscribers, and also to those people who are watching this. Thank you so much. See you next time. Cheers.